Welcome to the Talkback Fans High School Football Preview with Painesville Riverside. I'm Terry Heil.
And I'm Alex Heil.
And today we're at the football stadium, Beaver Stadium, at Painesville Riverside High School, home of the Painesville Riverside Beavers. Painesville Riverside is a member of the WRC. They are coming off of a 4-6 season in which they lost 3 games by less than 1 score, 2 of those games to teams that made it to the regional finals. They are led by head coach Dave Boers. Coach Boers is going into his 11th season. They are Division II, Region 5. And we are joined this morning by quarterback senior Dom Lulo. Dom, thanks for joining us. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Just fine, thanks. You're welcome. So, Dom, last year you guys were very young. A lot of guys getting their first start week 1. How do you build off of last year's experience?
I just think we take our experience from last year. As you said, we were in a lot of close games, and I think that just will translate. So I think we have a lot of experience coming into week 1 this year, and I think we've got a chip on our shoulder this offseason, and I think we worked really hard. So I think we're ready, honestly, and I can't wait for next week.
Talk about the guys you're going to hand the ball off to and the guys you're going to throw to.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of guys actually. That's a good thing about us is we have a lot of depth at receiver and running back. But some names that stand out that you guys would probably want to know are Matt Spofford. He has a couple Division I offers. James Bruno, he's pretty solid. Mason Stevens and Cayman Loke is the main guy in the backfield, and he's really solid too. He got hurt last year midway through the year, and he's looking to have a bounce back year, and I think we'll be ready for it.
Yeah, and how about the guys who are going to protect you?
Oh yeah, our offensive line is just one of a kind. I don't get touched in practice. I didn't get touched last night in the scrimmage either. Those guys protect me, and I love those dudes to death. And I'm ready to go to war with those dudes next Friday, and I think we'll be ready to go.
Record probably wasn't what you wanted it to be last year, but you were basically in the playoff hunt all the way through. Mm-hmm. I think you were still alive week 10 against South. Do you think that helps you coming into this year, even though, everyone makes the playoffs this year, but you have experience playing in games that matter late? Yeah,
the experience factor is a big thing for us. Obviously, the goal this year is, to be a higher seed in the playoffs because I feel like we have a pretty solid team. But just, our goal is to host a playoff game. That's our goal. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are going to host a playoff game because everyone makes it, but, that's just kind of been our goal since freshman year is to make playoffs, host a playoff game because no team's ever hosted a playoff game at our school. So that's kind of the goal for us. And, I think we can achieve that. We've worked really hard in the weight room this offseason. Our trainer, gets us right, and I think we're ready.
An interesting offseason with all what I've politely called the distractions.
Yeah.
So obviously you guys weren't able to physically be in the weight room for a while with your training people.
Yeah.
How did you guys kind of work through that, and how quickly were people to get up to speed once you guys were able to get back in there?
So our trainer, he's a very good trainer. He sent us workouts that I feel like a lot of people did, which I'm sure a lot of schools did that, but that it's not like we took a step back. I think we took a step forward, which really is a good thing during the pandemic, because we couldn't work out together, couldn't be together, but I feel like we made progress as a team, so that's a solid thing, and he still makes us work extremely hard in the season, and you got to get stronger in season. That's a big thing, and I think we're doing that, so I think we'll be physically ready to go.
And as a senior quarterback and as a senior leader, when you guys weren't able to physically get together, how did you rally the troops to make sure everyone was on the same page?
Oh yeah, we did competitions where we made people keep track of workouts, stuff like that. The seniors would text the younger class and make sure they're doing all right, ask them how everything's going. We just really made sure everybody stayed in touch, and just one thing we did come up with is before the pandemic is we really wanted to become a brotherhood, and I think we've done that. Like, everyone here seems to be really good friends. Like, we all hang out with each other, have fun, and I think that started because during the pandemic when we really couldn't talk to each other, we were just all on the same page talking to each other. We were watching film from last year, so I think a lot of that stuff is going to help us this year.
You guys had a scrimmage last night with Lakeside. You guys have had a couple of weeks of practice. Normally this would have been your third scrimmage, with next week being opening week. This was your first. Talk about where you think you guys are at and what you saw last night that encouraged you.
Yeah, we looked pretty good last night. There's obviously a few things. It's the first scrimmage. You can't simulate game in practice. Obviously there's some things that still need to be worked on, though. We need to I honestly think this week of practice is really a game changer for us. We didn't look perfect last night, but we looked pretty good, and I think this week is just going to put it all together for us. And, Yeah, I'd say last night our strengths were running the football. Our offensive line was moving them. We were averaging probably 8-9 yards a carry. We were throwing the ball pretty good too, but when the O-line opens it up for like that for us, you don't really got to throw that much. You just got to hit the play actions and hit them when you need to. And I think that's going to be kind of our strengths is just run, and then hit them deep when they jump. So I think we kind of saw that last night, and I think we look pretty good overall.
Any interest in playing in the next level?
I play lacrosse too. I'm just seeing my options at the moment because there's some schools that have reached out to me for both sports, but I'm just seeing my options at this point, and I don't know at this moment yet, but we'll see.
And when you look back at your 4 years here at Riverside, when you're getting ready to graduate, what do you want people to be able to say about Dom Lulo?
I just want to be able to say that I was a good teammate, good leader, good football player. Like, I want to lead this team very far in the playoffs this year, and I think we can do it. We have a very solid team, and it all starts I got to perform well for everything else to go well. And last year, I take kind of blame for those close games, and this year I think I'm ready. I've changed my approach towards football. Just became a better player, but also a better leader of these guys. So that's kind of what I want everyone to remember is just, I'm a good leader, a good person, just stuff like that. And also that we senior year we made a deep run in the playoffs.
Yeah, attendance this year is going to be limited. It's going to be parents and siblings and things like that. How do you think that will affect you guys much? Do you think you're going to have to bring your own juice? Is it just going to be like practice for you guys? Have you prepared for it at all?
Oh, yeah. Obviously we're going to have to bring our own juice. It's not going to be the same. There's nothing, I'm sure you guys know, there's nothing like playing in a full packed stands on a Friday night. But, last year we had to go travel out a game. It was week 3, I believe. We got rained out, and we had to go play a game 2.5 hours away on a Saturday morning at 1 o'clock with maybe 100 people there total. And we ended up coming out with the win. So, we kind of know what it feels like from that last year. And, our coach always says that we'd be ready to play at 3 a.m. in a parking lot anytime. So, we're just going to be ready to play whenever. Obviously we'd like to have fans, but we don't. So as long as our family and everyone can be here, I'm cool with just as long as we can play. That's all I wanted, just to be able to play with my guys one last time. That's all I wanted.
You mentioned your coach and kind of his approach and his attitude. What's it like playing for Coach Boers?
Yeah, Coach Boers is a great coach. He's also makes us great. I believe he makes us great young men. Like, that's what he takes most pride in, I would say. He obviously wins mean a lot, but I think that's what he takes most pride in, is just making us great young guys and just good people in the community, being good all around. Like, if we do anything goes wrong, he's punishing us, and he's a good guy he's a good coach, good guy overall, and he's really been a good mentor to me. Just always believed in me, and I can't thank him enough for that. So he's a good coach. So
accountability is very big with Coach Boers.
Yeah, accountability is a big thing. Like I said earlier, we kind of created this thing like ABCs in the off-season: accountability, brotherhood, compete. And accountability is one of our big things. You got to be accountable to your teammates, accountable to your coaches, accountable to yourself. He makes sure we do a good job of that, and I think we've done a good job of it. So thanks to him for that.
What do you like to do in your free time?
In my free time, I like to play Xbox with my friends, chill, work out. That's about it. Pretty boring guy.
Got anything, Alex?
No.
All right. We have been joined by Riverside senior quarterback Dom Lulo. Dom, thank you very much for your time. Greatly appreciate it, and I wish you a full season.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
We are now joined by Riverside senior offensive lineman, defensive lineman, and recent Air Force commit, Matt Watson. Matt, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
How you doing this morning?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing just fine. Congrats on the Air Force commit. You're going to join the Bolt Brotherhood. What made Air Force the choice?
Air Force was a pretty easy decision for me and my family, because not only the football aspect, but the aspects that you get, the benefits you get after graduating from the academy, would set me up for life. And playing football is just always what I wanted to do, especially at a high level at Division I FBS school. So it was a pretty easy decision.
What were your other options?
I was deciding between them, Army, and Lafayette out in PA. So those were my top 3. So I picked Air Force Academy because my dad served and my brother's serving right there right now. So just the best option for me and my family.
Thank you very much to your family for their service. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. No problem.
All right. So, especially in high school football, offenses are going to go as far as the big boys take them. Talk to us about your O-line mates.
Our O-line last year they were big, but they didn't work as hard as us. We have a really big, well-rounded offensive line this year. 240 plus across the board. We have a really good center. He's our main dog on the O-line. He leads us, very, very vocal. We have a very good, solid young guard, junior guard, Nick Messenger. He's coming up. He played a lot last year as a sophomore, which is impressive. And then we have just a well-rounded line across the board, a lot of hard workers.
So you guys are coming back with pretty close to 22 returning starters this year. You guys had a big senior class that graduated in 18, made that playoff run into week 12. How do you guys build off of last year and the adversity that you went through with the close games and just missing the playoffs to really make a push forward this season?
Last year we had 4 or 5 games where they were within a touchdown. So I think that experience was bad last year, but it was good for us to build off this offseason. It made us focus on a lot of the little things instead of a lot of the bigger things that make games. And the little things lost us a lot of games, like fumbles, penalties. There's a lot of stuff that's easy to fix if we put more dedication and a lot of determination into this offseason. So I think that's going to benefit us a lot in this upcoming season.
Domcat talked about no one has ever hosted a playoff game here at Riverside before. What would that mean to you to be the first team to ever do that?
That would mean everything to us. That's what we've been working through. We've been our senior class. We've been playing together since we were 7, 8 years old. So we've been talking about making a huge playoff run since we were 7, 8 years old. So being able to host a home playoff game for the first time in Riverside history would mean everything to us, and it would just show how hard we've worked the past 10 years of our lives getting to this moment.
What would you say is the strength of the offensive line as a group?
Our strength is definitely running the ball. We're just hard workers. We move a lot of kids, and if we can't, it's going to set up our whole offense if we can just run the ball hard. So.
Now we'll flip over and we'll talk about the defensive side. Let's talk about you and your D-line mates.
Our D-line, we have we have Alex Sy coming back. He's a senior as well. We have a senior, junior nose, that Nick Messenger. He's a well-rounded kid, and then I'll be playing the other end. We're really well-rounded. We have a lot of experience. Me and Alex got a good amount of time our sophomore year. So we have a lot of experience, so we should be pretty dominant up front on the D-line.
What's it like playing for Coach Boers?
It's awesome, man. He's been a great coach, but he's been great to me off the field as well. He's helped me through a lot of problems with school, a lot of problems off the field. That couldn't be more thankful for him and the whole coaching staff in general. So,
when you look at your defensive philosophy this year, how would you describe it?
We're gonna have to play aggressive. Our linebackers are young, so we're gonna have to be aggressive, get them used to being at the varsity level, the speed, the strength of the O-lines and the running back. So we just got to keep playing aggressive, and hope they just let them flow, let the game flow to us, and we got to bring it to them and not let it come to us.
So with you guys not having any scrimmages up to last night, so you missed 2 of them, how do you replicate that in practice to get those guys up to speed for where they're going to need to be week 1?
We have our first team O-line go against our good first team linebackers, and it gives them pretty much a similar look, but you can't replicate with the speed and the speed of the game and the crowd. So we just try to give them the best. We just try to get the best scout team we can and rep it out as many times as we can during the week.
You talked about being aggressive on defense, and defenses tend to feed off of crowd noise and energy and things like that. How are you guys going to kind of deal with the fact that numbers are going to be limited and it's going to be family and things like that this year?
I think we're very heavy. We forced 27 turnovers last year, was the most since Riverside since 2011, 2010 or something like that. So I think making big plays, hyping up your teammates on little stuff, even just hits, tackles for loss. I think we got to bring our own energy and not rely on the student section or the crowd to get us into the game. I think we got to produce it ourselves. So it's going to be new, but it's got to be something we have to do to be able to win football games. So.
What do you like to do with your free time?
I play Xbox with a lot of my teammates. I work out a lot, and other than that, I work at a golf course. So other than that, it's pretty much just chill time.
And when you look back in your 4 years here at Riverside, what do you want people to be able to say about Matt Watson?
I want them to be able to say I was one of the hardest workers on the team, and I'm not the most vocal guy, but I wanted them to be able to say I led by example, not taking reps off, playing as much as I can, even through injuries. So I think that's what I want most people to think of me when I leave when I leave Riverside High School.
All right, so we have been joined by Riverside senior offensive defensive lineman and Air Force commit Matt Watson. Matt, thank you very much for your time. Greatly appreciate it, and I wish you a full season of health.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care, brother. We're now joined by Riverside defensive coordinator Jeremy Ishmael. Coach Ishmael, thank you for joining us. How are you this morning?
Doing all right. Thanks for coming out today and covering Riverside and some of the things going on out here. So thank you.
You're welcome. So, Coach, last year you guys opened with a shootout with Perry,
Yep.
and you had almost new starters across the board, both sides of the ball. And going into week 2 then, the rest of the way, the defense was really able to crank down. How were you able to make adjustments that quickly, and how do you build off of that for this year?
I think it's a lot of just getting those new guys like you said that we had, because I think going back against that game or in that game against Perry last year, I think we had 9 new guys starting on defense for us. So just sometimes just getting thrown in the fire like that. Sometimes you just get acclimated to what is coming at you, and the learning process kind of speeds up a little bit. So I think just kind of realizing those guys, those new guys realizing, okay, hey, we're playing varsity football right now. There's more that needs to go into it in terms of the mental preparation along with the physical preparation as well. I think that's where they kind of stepped up their game going into week 2 and beyond, because I felt like after the first couple of weeks, we played some pretty decent defense last year, given the fact that we had 8, 9 new guys starting on defense. So it's just, once again, it's just the way we practice, the way we try to be efficient, the way we try to get our guys, the learning process to kind of speed up for our guys a little bit too. I mean, that's kind of where we're at, and I think that's once they realize what it takes, not just from a physical standpoint but a mental standpoint, they definitely sped things up for the guys, and they definitely got better as the year went on. So.
And you had 3 very close losses last year, 2 of them to teams that made it to the regional finals in Chardon and Mayfield. Mm-hmm. Again, there's no moral victories, but you've got to be able to take a lot of that out. And even you guys fought right to the end, going to overtime in week 10 when you still had a chance to make the playoffs. There's got to be a lot that you can take from that. So how do you take those 3 experiences that we just talked about, plus the fact that everybody now has an additional year of experience, and say, okay, guys, we're ready. We're coming back with almost the same 11 we had last year. It's going to be a little bit easier and a little bit smoother than it was to start last year.
No, I think, like you said, it's just getting that experience and making them realize, that against the teams that we play in our conference, I mean, it's the margin for error is razor thin. I mean, there's no team that we're really, or anybody else in this league for that matter, is really head and shoulders that much better than. So I mean, it's just competitive balance all over the place. And these guys got, I think these guys definitely realized last year, once again, that margin for error is so small. So you have any kind of errors, any kind of issues, it's going to get exposed. And I think that experience learning last year, where against Mayfield, lose by I think a field goal in overtime, and South double overtime loss in the Chardon game. I mean, just once again, you could play pretty well for 60, 70, 80% of a game. You get those couple of big plays here and there, that could be the difference. And I think those guys getting that experience, kind of realizing that last year, was definitely very eye-opening for them as well. Because I mean, it's a talented group. They've always been a talented group, but it's once again just the little things, and the little things sometimes get exposed in Friday night situations. So it's, I think, just getting them that experience and making them realize that is going to be monumental for our guys in terms of making sure that they don't take the little things for granted against teams like that, especially good teams like Chardon, Mayfield, South. The guys we're going to see in our conference this year. So.
You guys forced a lot of turnovers last year, I believe 21, which is the most in almost 10 years at Riverside. What about your defense allows you to cause turnovers so effectively?
I think we just got a bunch of guys that run and hit and just play as hard as they possibly can every single chance they get an opportunity to. So, we work it every day in practice. We do takeaway circuits. We try to incentivize them to get takeaways when we go 7-on-7, when we go team sessions, and just kind of make them realize, your job as a defensive player isn't get the guy on the ground and stop the team from scoring. The job is get the ball back for the offense and let them go score points. And even better, if we could score on defense, which we were fortunate enough to do last year for the first time in a few years, I can't remember, that is game changing. The amount of momentum that they can create on defense just by taking the ball away from the offense and giving it back to our offense is astronomical. So we want to make sure they realize how important that is. To take, because obviously if the offense doesn't have the ball, they're not as likely to score as they would if they had the ball. So I mean, take it away from the offense, give it to our defense, and the group we had last year really embraced that challenge. I mean, it was fun to see them swing momentum in a lot of different games just by taking the ball away from the offense.
Coach, talk about your defense, and we'll go by position group. We'll start with Matt and the big boys up front, then move to the linebackers, and then to the DBs.
I'll tell you, the guys up front, play 3 down linemen. We've got, I'd say, based on what we've seen so far in camp, we've got anywhere from, I'd say, 5 to 7 guys that we could rotate in through those 3 guys, especially seeing how, we've got 3 guys up front who are going to get a significant amount of time on offense in Nick Messenger, Matt Watson, and Alex Sy. They're going to play a lot on offense, and they're, like you said, they're big boys, so they're going to need some rest every now and again. So we've developed some nice depth. Coach Schussler does a great job with our defensive line. We've developed some nice depth behind our, the 3 guys that we had coming back from last year. My fault. Sorry, the 2 guys we had in addition to Nick. We've developed some really nice depth behind those guys. So it's just going to be cycle those guys in and out and be as effective and as disruptive up front as you possibly can be. So, we got a good amount of size up front. So it's just, can we be disruptive? So
now go to the linebackers.
So linebackers, actually, we're relatively new in the linebacker position. We got 2 juniors looking at our 2 juniors looking to start at inside linebacker for us, in Dom Tromba and Wyatt Wonderly. Real solid, physical, good-sized kids. Wyatt's our backup quarterback. We went into quarantine. He was about 190 pounds. He came out, he was about 230. And we were talking to him. He said, I remember we came back here for the first time. I said, who is that kid? And I'm like, oh, my God, that's Wyatt Wonderly. It was shocking to me. One of our coaches talked to him. He's like, I was just so bored during the whole thing. I just worked out. I'm like, good on you, buddy. So, yeah. I mean, and Dom's the opposite. He was about 230 last year, dropped about 35 pounds this past offseason, and just became more athletic, more explosive. So those are two guys that we're looking to start for us. But then, we got some depth behind them, and a kid like Joey Ellie and a kid AJ Moore. Trying to think of anybody. We've got some decent depth built up behind those guys as well. And then, our outside backers, we're looking at once again a junior and Henry Bush, who once again just does good things and makes things happen. Nick Takovic is looking like he's going to be our other guy starting on the outside. So just solid football players and just really do their job, really starting their role and do the things that we ask them to do. So, and then we got a little bit of depth behind them and a couple actually younger on the outside with a sophomore Jason Ryan and a freshman Brady McKnight. So, I think we're going to be pretty solid in that position as well this year as well. So.
And the DBs?
So DBs, so you want to talk about it? I mean, we have a boatload of depth at the DB spot, and once again, it's the same thing where our skill guys are going to get a lot of playing time on offense, and it's kind of hard to sit here and say that there's clear-cut starters in the defensive backfield right now, because we've got, I'd say, probably 4 guys that could play corner for us right now starting on a Friday night. We've probably got about 4 or 5 guys that could start that could play for us and start for us as safety. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint who those starters are at that point. It's just making those guys realize, because the 4 guys we have coming back at corner, 2 of them got hurt early on, but they would have played a significant amount for us last year. 2 more are returning starters in Caden Tinner and James Bruno. The other 2, Mason Stevens and Isaiah Alexander. They both got hurt early last year, but they would have seen a significant amount of time. So we got 4 guys that could play corner that got a decent amount of exposure last year. And then our safety, you got a Matt Spofford and you got a Jameer Francis who, once again, returning starters from last year. Got solid backups in Ryan Becker, Jelante Robinson, and Simon White. So, I mean, we're pretty. It's one of those things where it's like, you got to make these guys realize there's only so many positions on the field that you can play. Just when your number's called, you got to go in and make plays. So I think, just defensively, I think we got a decent amount of depth to the point where, we could rotate any one of those guys in and out. We still feel pretty comfortable with the guys that are on the field. So
defense is kind of the high energy side of the ball, and they kind of feed off the crowd and things like that. With things being different and limited and things like that, have you addressed that with your team? Do you think it'll impact them at all? Kind of just what's your thoughts on? We haven't
really addressed it with them. We just kind of make them realize once again, we kind of use the analogy of playing defense is kind of like that cat following the laser. No matter what, if you throw that laser on the ground, that cat's going to follow it somehow, some way. So you always got to be on alert. You always got to be on guard. Without the crowd, it's going to be different. It's going to be like playing a Thursday or Friday, or I'm sorry, like a freshman or JV game atmosphere-wise at times, with the amount of crowd that you have. But once again, we got to make these guys realize, hey, you got to create your own energy. You got to create your own energy to play defense. And it doesn't matter who's in the crowd. Simple job is stop the offense from scoring, get the ball back for our offense to go score points. So that's the biggest thing that we try to impress upon our guys playing defense is it doesn't matter if there's no crowd, it doesn't matter if there's a large crowd, it doesn't matter if the ball's on our 1 yard line, it doesn't matter if the ball's on the other team's 1 yard line. We want to make sure that they bring energy, and then we want to make sure that they're as focused with that energy to stop offenses and get the ball back for our offense.
Coach, you open with South, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so the offenses in the WRC pretty dynamic.
Oh, yeah.
So Coach Duff always got a dynamic quarterback, right? Always got some guys who can pound the ball, always got some pretty good wide receivers on the outside. So a lot of times it's the defensive line, and obviously the pressure would be essential.
Yes.
But the back end of your defense is really going to be essential in the WRC, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, any team you play. Now, we're not playing Kenston this year, but Kenston, they've got a dynamic group of receivers year in, year out. I mean, they're not fun to defend. Mayfield, same thing. I mean, they've got dynamic athletes all over the place. Then you get into some of the athleticism, you get out of brush, and then it's. I think we talked about this last year. Just the dichotomy of offenses you see. You got the really dynamic, spread you out, athletic, explosive type offenses in the Mayfields and the Kenstons and the Souths, and then you flip it around and you go to like your Norths and your Madisons and your Chardons, where it's going to be it's going to be a real physical upfront game, and you got to do your best to just adjust week to week. So it's fun, it's interesting. Sometimes it causes you to lose a little sleep at night in terms of just the change from week to week. But yeah, it's just every coach, every team does a really, really, really good job in this conference with preparing their kids, making sure they're ready to go, and forcing kind of challenging us defensively to defend them.
Coach, why are you who you are?
Who, me?
Yes.
It's a great question. Never really thought, that's a great question. I never really thought about why am I who I am. I think, solid upbringing from my family. My parents did a great job. I'd say I'm a chip off the old block of my dad, just, pretty serious, but also could be pretty sarcastic at the same time. I'm fiery like my mom. I have a tendency to kind of get a little loose every now and again with the temper. I kind of definitely get that from my mom, and then I've got a great family at home. My wife, my kids. Just a lot of fun to be around, and good family here with the good balance we have on our staff with the kids just being around. It's I think a lot of that just goes into who I am. So.
I'm sensing a little acerbic wit in there too, Coach.
I have moments. I don't know if I might have a few more moments in my mind than other people might think, but I try.
That makes you human.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So, Coach, when you look at this season, how do you guys make a deep push into the playoffs this year?
I think a lot of it just comes down to just execution, number one, but number two, it's just I remember a couple of years ago, when we probably had our most historic team. I don't want to say, but our most historic team that we had in school history. Everybody really embraced the kind of idea of just star in your role. Whatever is asking you to do it. Put the team first. Put individual stuff behind you. It's not about you. It's about us. I think if we get guys to kind of embrace that mindset, which is tough. I mean, because you got individuals out there who some of the skill guys we got, they want to get their touches because they know what they can do with the football. It's just if you don't have the ball in your hands, what are you going to do to help make the team better? That's the point where I think we're close, but we still need a little work on in terms of making sure that everybody realizes it can't be about you all the time. It's got to be about other people, and whatever you can do to help out the team and help out the group is just going to make us better in the long run. So just I think embracing that mentality is what's going to kind of set us apart and help us make a hopefully deep playoff run. So
it's a little bit of Hoosiers, right? So when all the Pistons are firing, right, we're going to be a tough team to beat.
Absolutely, totally.
Beautiful.
Yes.
We have been joined by Riverside defensive coordinator Jeremy Ishmael. Coach, thank you very much for your time. We greatly appreciate it, and I wish you a full season of healthy.
Appreciate you guys coming out, and I hope we do get a full season of healthy. So appreciate it, guys. Thank you, and we'll see you guys throughout the course of the season.
Beautiful. Thanks.
All right.
We are now joined by Riverside athletic director and head coach Dave Boers. Coach Boers entering his 11th season. Coach, thank you very much for joining us. How are you this morning?
Great, thank you. Thanks so much for coming out here and giving us some love.
And we appreciate the support that we get from Riverside, so always open arms for us out here, so greatly appreciate it. So, Coach, coming off of a difficult season last year, had a lot of new starters, a lot of close ball games, still had a chance week 10, unfortunately lost in overtime. How do you build off of that?
I mean, I think it's just kind of, taking the momentum. The kids know. I mean, we had 6 losses. All were playoff teams. I think the opponent's record combined that we lost to was like 52-8. You take Mayfield into overtime a couple weeks earlier. You go to double overtime with South. It's just kind of the way it is. I mean, I think the momentum is just simply, how close we are and what we're trying to do here, and you just keep focusing on getting better every day.
Yeah. The defense last year, especially after week 1, really picked things up. What's going to be the key for them to really get it rolling this season?
I think just to play fast and confident. I mean, like I say, we've got a decent amount of returners back. They know the scheme. We're not trying to do anything fancy, especially with the abbreviated time we've had to get ready. That's for everybody. But I think just getting after it early. I mean, we got guys that like to run and hit, and so I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah. We got Coach Ishmael on to talk about his D. Talk about the rest of your staff a little bit.
Oh, yeah, great. I mean, it's good because everybody's growing, so I don't have the list in front of me. But my staff, I don't want to leave anybody out, so I'm not going to name drop everybody.
That's fine.
But in terms of the staff in general, especially with my role as the athletic director, they probably have to do more than any other staff in the state of Ohio in terms of managing, balancing, and I'm very fortunate to have a staff that's been with me for a long time. There's a lot of continuity. We all kind of believe and feel, share the same vision. But the things that my staff do for the program on a daily basis, and sharing roles and buying in and making sure that they don't care who gets the credit or what goes on. I mean, they're tremendous. I mean, this would not happen without myself. It certainly is not just me. I'm the figurehead, but no more than that. I mean, my staff is tremendous.
Dom kind of told us a little bit about the ABCs that you guys had over the workout off season and into the preseason. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Well, I think it's good because before COVID hit, and we were part of our daily workout starting back in the winter was to have classroom time with our kids, and part of it was because the weight room was cramped. So we tried to get creative with still utilizing time, and we actually had like leadership classes, and we brought the kids in and really kind of empowered them to realize this is their team, their program. However, you got to do it the right way, and we're very fortunate to have great kids here at Riverside, and so that's something that they kind of came up with, and a couple of our coaches leading the class one day kind of threw it out them and what's important to you guys, and what do you want to be known for, and how do you want to approach the season, and what do you think the team needs more of, and we just kind of evolved, and they kind of came up with the ABCs, and it's awesome. It's awesome. That's something because it's been so tough. Together, we're still not loud in the building. Normally today after a scrimmage, we'd be in there, we'd be discussing things with the team, whatever. We don't have that opportunity right now. So things like that with the chemistry and the leadership are so important right now. And the more that these guys can kind of take over the team themselves and kind of help have us just kind of making sure things are going in the right direction. That any great team that I've been part of and been fortunate to be part of in my 24 years, that's what happens. I mean, the players inevitably pull the coaching staff, and they pull them, and they direct where it's going. They police themselves. They hold each other accountable. It's a brotherhood, for the B, and it's so it's good. So the fact that they do that and they're talking about it and buying into it is tremendous.
Yeah. And how are guys like Matt and Dom as your senior leaders taking over that role for you?
Great, and again, we're very fortunate to have a great senior class in general. I mean, there's a lot of leaders, and some a little more vocal, some a little more by example. But those two guys are great, and I could have sent you 15 other guys, to be honest, today out of that class itself. But I said we only had a couple, so those guys are great for sure, and the class itself is a really good class.
Coach Ishmael made it apparent to us that the defense is really going to try to be the leaders this year. They're going to try to build off of that record-setting number. It was record-setting, but it was about the best turnover ratio they had in the last 10 years to build off of that to set up the offense. But there's a popular song that says, "The house don't fall if the bones are good." The bones of the O is the O-line. How are you going to get rolling behind that group?
Well, fortunately, I don't think it's going to be too difficult because it's a great group. We got Coach Thomason and Coach Ross there leading the charge with the offensive line, and they're big and they're hungry, and they've hit the weight room extremely hard. Granted, we got some tough opponents in our conference, and obviously Walsh Jesuit week 3, but nothing's guaranteed. But like I say, I mean, we're pretty confident being able to run the ball behind those guys, and like you say, I mean, I've always felt the offensive line is the only true aggressors on a football field in any given play. I mean, they're the ones that are guaranteed to be contacting somebody every single play, not avoiding, not trying to outrun, not avoiding a block shot. I mean, they literally literally their job every single play is to go get somebody. So, we're pretty fortunate to have the line we've got in front of us this year.
You had some close losses last year, and Matt kind of talked about how that showed them that the little things like fumbles and turnover and penalties and things like that are kind of what shifts the balance of a game. What have you done to kind of show these guys, the importance of the little things and get it so that those little things don't show up in a game this year?
I think you go a couple different angles. I think one is just something you just stress and preach it. I mean, no matter what we're doing, you try and focus on the little things or address them, even if you're starting a sprint, staying behind the line or not. Even last night, we're breaking it down as a team and having our post scrimmage talk, and we weren't going to start our coaching discussion with the boys afterwards until everybody was behind the white line in the end zone, spread out, just addressing that stuff and drawing attention to that stuff. I mean, you just have to realize, we put cones out and spacers for everyone on the sidelines, and we talk about it all the times. It may not matter when you're playing a team that's 0-5. I said, when you're playing a team that's as good, better than you, like, that's what wins and loses the football game. I mean, inevitably every single time, and that's the way you have to treat your preparation, is assuming you're in those big time games, not because you can easily let your guard down, but you just can't. You can't in any given week, in any given day, and it's from the weight room to how you handle yourself in the classroom, the hallways at home. You got to preach the little things. Secondly, from a football standpoint, not get too crazy and complicated. I mean, the more that you bog the kids down, especially the high school level, with scheme and trying to be too tricky and fancy and think we're going to win a game on the dry erase board, the more they have to process and think, and it's almost paralysis through analysis, and we don't want that to happen. We know we have a fairly talented team, and these guys are players, and it's our job as a coaching staff to just let them play, let them go out there and do what they can as fast and as confidently as possible.
So you were able to get a scrimmage in last night against Lakeside. Coach Edwards trying to get them going in the right direction out there. Talk about what you saw last night.
They did a great job at Lakeside. I mean, first of all, I appreciate Coach Edwards reaching out to us, and it was a good last-minute scrimmage for us. I think he's doing a good job out there, turning that program around, just seeing firsthand. From our guys, I think it was similar to what we were hoping to see. Some things we got to clean up, which is always good, because we went back and forth. Do we just do an inner squat something? Do we just try and make sure everyone's healthy going into week one? Do we minimize the risk of this or that? But when we really looked at it, I was like, no, we got to go and we got to practice on the sideline. Somebody else, make sure the refs are there and whatnot. So I was happy what we got out of it. We came out of it fairly healthy. We got some good reps in. We got some things that we got exposed at that we know we got to work on this week. And like I say, Lakeside was a great host, and it was a good quick scrimmage for us.
Yeah. Coach, having a number of returning starters, does the lack of scrimmage time actually maybe help you a little bit this year?
It's funny. We talked about as a coaching staff. I mean, we felt even in the summer, June, July, when we were allowed to, start getting after a little bit, that like, wow, like we almost feel like there's some things that we didn't get to till like mid-season last year, that it's June and the guys already picking up and remembering, and so absolutely, and that's why we weren't frantic. I know teams were, as soon as we were, got the order that we were allowed to scrimmage and go against our competition, we're going nuts trying to find one, book one, I got to have a scrimmage, and we're just like, nah. I think we're okay. We're good. And because we have the depth, because we have returning guys, we can get good looks in practice as well. So we weren't craving a scrimmage. But then when Lakeside reached out to us and we analyzed a little more, we said that's probably a good idea to maybe take one. But, yeah, for the most part, that does help with not having the normal scrimmages and as necessary.
Coach, most people don't understand how difficult it is on the journey to a state championship. But if you look at this season and you can say, hey, if X and Y happens, Riverside's making a deep run in the playoffs, what are X and Y?
Health, for sure. I think everybody would probably say that. And I think, if the season, it's a good question. I don't like to think that way because I'm more of a process guy and big picture, but healthy for sure. And I think of just the guys starting their role. Sometimes when you have a talented team, it's difficult for guys when they maybe don't get the touches they think they should see, or they're splitting a little bit of time with somebody else. If the guys understand their role and say, whatever role I'm given on this team, because football is the greatest team game ever invented, not necessarily the greatest game, that's debatable, but team game, because 50 guys could have a say in the outcome of a game on Friday night. Not like baseball where it could be 13 or 14, or basketball could be 7 or 8. I mean, 50, 60 guys. The guy who run down a kickoff could determine the outcome of the game. But so if they start in their role, if they buy into starting in their role and doing everything that they're asked to do for the betterment of the team, and we stay healthy, we got a shot to do something special.
All right, Coach, why are you who you are? I wish I could see your facial reaction.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe I'm glad I'm masked up here, So just the way we do things. I think the way we do things. I think, and we do talk about a lot that when if you show up and you've never seen us, if you've never seen our guys play or how we do things, and you get to come and watch us for like 15 minutes, what does that look like? What does that look like? Are we doing things the right way? Are we worrying about our attitude and our effort, which we preach all the time, and that's something that, things you can control. So I think it's just, we take pride in trying to do well with the little things and doing things the right way, and attitude and effort, controlling what you can control, and let chips fall where they may. We're not big scoreboard watchers, I'll be honest. I mean, I always say too, you should be able to turn that scoreboard off and watch the game and know who the better team is by the way they do it. From the opening kickoff, how's their special teams? Is it something they let go or don't take pride in, and we try, no matter what we do, we try and do it well in every phase of the game, and including trying to do well when we're off the field too. So I think I don't know if that's exactly the answer you're looking for, but I think that would be something that we'd like to hang our hats on.
Coach, the one group we didn't talk about, you just mentioned special teams. Talk about your special teams group.
Well, led by Coach Snyder, and Coach Kazmarek helps him with that. It's good. We have our kicker back. He's only a junior. He's been working hard this off season, hitting some camps and work with some professionals. So that's been great. We're at the point now with our program depth-wise where guys know that to see the field, special teams may be that answer, at least to get on the field. It's not guaranteed anymore. We don't have to have 20 starters playing all our special teams and never come off the field. I mean, you're a sophomore, you're a junior, it's not getting a lot of time. Well, you go make a name on special teams. And guys are starting to buy into that more and more every year. And I know it should be the case from day one, but sometimes it's not easy all the time with special teams. But to see the importance, and we got a lot of guys that are hungry on special teams. We have some decent return men. Like I say, our kicking game should be pretty solid. So special teams hopefully should be right in line with our offense and defense in terms of being, a solid component. And again, I don't know what's going to be the strongest of the three phases, because like I say, we've got good coaches all around. We have good athletes buying for time. So it should be exciting. We don't have many holes. I'm not saying we're awesome anywhere, but I don't look at it like, oh my gosh, we're really in trouble in this phase of our game. I don't say that. We're solid everywhere. Like I say, not great, but solid everywhere.
Well, you guys are my surprise team for this year, Coach. I said that last year after watching what you guys had in that junior class, and especially some of those sophomores who were seeing time, that a year of seasoning was going to make a big difference. Hopefully I get proven right.
I hope so too.
That'd be a good thing.
Yep.
So we have been joined by Riverside Athletic Director and Head Coach Dave Boers. Coach, thank you very much for your time. We greatly appreciate it, and I wish you a full season of healthy.
Thank you very much. Best luck to you guys, and let's exactly full season. Let's make sure we get through the season, and best of luck to all the teams out there.
Beautiful. This has been the Talkback Fans High School Football Preview with the Painesville Riverside Beavers. We'll see you when we see you.